on this October 28th of 2025. It's almost Halloween. Some of us have our Halloween backgrounds in Zoom. Come join us if you'd like. We don't want you to talk, but you can wave, hang up signs, or use the chat box. So join us in the Zoom room. Love to have you. Love to see some of the people that we talk to that we normally don't see. Just go to EastCoastReflector.com. Go to Nets, and there's a box there that you can check. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the box to follow along on the log. Follow along on the log sheet there, but if you go to EastCoastReflector.com, there's a tab that'll take you right in to the Zoom room. Come join us and wave to us and say hello. Like I say, we don't talk other than that. We changed a few things. Tonight, Charles is here. We're going to, top of our nets, we're going to try to have a short 10-minute presentation on something. Tonight, Charles is here. That's KC6 UFM, of course, and he's going to talk for a few minutes on the upcoming antenna farm and EME that he's written up for the newsletter that will be coming out shortly. So we're going to try to have something informative like that at the top of each net. If you have a subject that you're first on and would like to do 10 minutes, 5 minutes, let us know, and we'll get you in here at the top of the net. Then we're going to go right to stations with questions. Charles, to stations with questions. Then we're going to, after we do stations with questions, we're going to take new users that have never checked into this net before. Then we're going to go to general check-ins. And tonight we're going to start with radio check-ins. Roger is with me tonight, KO4QMM. And of course, Miss Vicky, K8BKY, is here on the log. So we're going to start with radio check-ins. He's going to take 10 radio check-ins, and then we're going to take 10 text check-ins and alternate back and forth. You might want to get on the, if you're not logged in for the text, you might want to text to 716-317-9050 and get on the, in queue, I should say. I wanted to say get on the log, and that's been a problem here because some of you aren't familiar with how the text line works. You do not automatically go on the log. You go into a separate sheet, and Vicky puts you on the log. A couple simple housekeeping rules there. I want to remind everybody, it's kind of interesting tonight. I was listening on 7268 and 14325 to the Hurricane Watch Net. A lot of information and stuff coming out of Jamaica and places. So it's interesting to listen there tonight on 7268 and 14325 on HF. We got a couple things coming up that I want to mention. On October 10th in our Zoom room, Daryl, VK3AWA, is doing a Zoom room presentation on the flower pot antenna. He's modeling it for this presentation for UHF, but you can use it for VHF, UHF, 6 meters, 10 meters, 40 meters. It all depends on how big you want to go. But he's going to model for UHF. So that's going to be an interesting presentation on November 10th at 8 o'clock in the East Coast Reflector Zoom room. And we're just getting the information out on that. This all came about fairly recently. And then on the, let me get my facts straight here. On the 17th, Dave, N2EZY, is going to do a presentation on the Antique Wireless Association that's up in Bloomfield, New York. I think he's going to take us around the museum. They have stations set up from all areas, the 50s, 60s, 70s, and so forth. Really a beautiful museum. He's going to enlighten us on the 10th in the Zoom room with that presentation. And more to follow with that as time goes on. Orlando. I hate to take that off. Brings in a lot of students. Maybe it'll stop here. What else do I have here? A couple things more. I try to get all this information out to you if I can. Joe, KO4FRR, he's looking for a front-end and back-end developer. We need help. If you're a front-end or back-end developer, let us know. Joe's doing a little bit of interviewing on that. We need help. We've got some things coming up that we need help with, and if you think you can spare a few hours a week or whatever it happens to be, let us know. Front-end, back-end developer. I know we've got to have some out there, guys and gals that can help us out. We now have a Discord server. I think I mentioned that last week. ECR.radio/Discord. ECR.radio/Discord. We'll get you in to sign you up. And I think Vicky talked to Santa Claus this week, and I understand he is coming to the ECR this Christmas. So that's something to be thinking about. If you remember last year, we had our phone line, and you could wish your friends Merry Christmas and so forth, and Santa read them off at different times around the holidays. So be thinking about that. Be more to follow, but she has talked to Santa, and he is definitely coming. So that's good news. So I'm going to turn it over to Charles, KC6UFM. Charles, and what do you got for us tonight? This is Dick, WB2JPQ.
Good evening, Dick, and everyone on the Teche Net. This is Charles, KC6UFM, and I kind of like little catchy phrases, and to reiterate what Dick was saying there, we're trying to put the tech back in the Teche Net, so we'll see how that goes for a while. But what I wanted to talk very briefly about tonight is the upcoming article in the ECR magazine, which is going to be on EME. Now, for those of you who don't know what EME is, that stands for Earth, Moon, Earth. Sometimes it's called moon bounce because the whole idea is to use the moon as a passive reflector and bounce a signal off of the moon that can then be received from other points where the moon is visible. Very long distance communication. It is normally done at VHF and higher frequencies, although there have been some people who have worked it on 10 meters. But this is something that any class of license can do, with one little caveat. And I get into this in more detail in the article, but you've heard the old expression that space is hard. Well, moon bounce is harder. It takes a big antenna array. It takes a lot of power. Takes some seriously expensive rotators for the antenna array because it has to be able to point very accurately at the moon and track it. So, you can get on there and do some very interesting communications. Most of it is done on CW or on the various digital modes, FT8, Q65, things like that, because it just tears up voice signals, because you're talking 200 to 300 decibels of loss just on the path alone. Whereas maybe from your living room to the local repeater 5 or 6 miles away, you might have a dozen or so, maybe 20 decibels of path loss. We're talking 100 times that, or 10 times that or more with Earth, Moon, Earth. Let me do a quick reset here. Okay, so you need a big antenna, you need some very decent power levels, and for the VHF and UHF range, Yagis are perfectly acceptable. You can build a Yagi that will perform very well on Earth, Moon, Earth. I kind of misstated there because I said a Yagi. In most cases, you're going to need 4 of them, and they're going to be big. For 70 centimeters, what is considered to be the minimal antenna is a 70 centimeter Yagi with 26 elements on a 20-foot long boom.
This is?
And you're going to need 4 of those. There's somebody who can't understand.
Bravo, Alpha.
Yeah. Somebody want to take him off? But in any event, you need to be aware that there are these huge requirements for EME. It's doable. It's fun. I have done it in the past. I'm not currently doing it, but when I lived in Missouri, I was had enough room that I could put up a big antenna, and I actually was doing it on 2 meters. But I had a full legal limit amplifier, 4 big cross Yagis, and it worked phenomenally well. The only thing is, every once in a while I would be in such a position that my antennas would track over towards the local cable TV hardline, and they were notorious for not putting their connectors on properly, and it would fry a whole bunch of their amplifiers. So, that's their deal. But, EME is a lot of fun. It does take some skill. It's not for those who are faint of heart, and it's also not for those that have, shall we say, HOA restrictions because of the size of the antennas. But the interesting thing is once you get above UHF, up into the SHF range and the microwaves, all of a sudden, Yagis become too small to accurately work with, but parabolic dishes take over. Let me do another reset. So you can pick up old TV satellite stations and repurpose those antennas. But trust me, if you think your wife was upset when you put that little 3-element tri-bander beam up on top of the house, wait until you have an array of 4 2-meter dishes in the backyard. She is not going to be pleased, I can guarantee you that. But and you're not going to convince her that it is a bird bath that has fallen over and just happens to be pointing at the moon. But it's a good way to go, and it is entirely doable. 90% of it would be of the antennas, at any rate, be able to be home brewed. But again, you're going to need a big amplifier, and at those frequencies, they are not cheap. But also, we have issues with feed lines. At those frequencies, feed line loss becomes a problem, and because of the path loss, you've heard me say numerous times in the antenna farm. You've heard us talk about it here on the Tech.
Hey, Charles, get in here for a second. We need to leave some breaks. The repeaters are timing out all over the system, please.
I'm sorry about that, Dick. Okay, anyway, you need to be aware that your feed line needs to be very low loss. We've talked before about, don't sweat anything less than a dB. When you're doing EME, even a tenth of a dB can be a big difference. So it is challenging, and there's a lot more information in the article coming out in the next magazine. Excuse me. I can't stop calling it a newsletter, but if it has that many pages, it's not a newsletter. So give that article a read, and again, as always, if you have any questions, drop me an email, catch me here on the Reflector, and we'll go with that. So right now, I'll turn it back over to you, Dick. This is KC6 UFM, back to net control.
Thank you, Charles. I think we brought some of the stuff back online. Yeah, you need to just a quick pause. It doesn't do a thing for the repeaters and so forth. We were dropping repeaters right and left here. We reconnected the ones that we could, but just something to remember. Those quick keys don't do a thing to repeaters. It might reset an all-star note, but it doesn't reset many of the repeaters. I think we dropped out about 6 of them that I know of anyway. All right, thank you, Charles. Let's go to stations with questions. If you have an amateur radio-related question tonight, this is the time and the place to ask it. Vicky's on the log. She's all set to take some call signs. So if you've got an amateur radio-related question, please give us a call sign twice and slowly. Once again, this is Dick, WB2JPQ. Well, don't all come at once. Come on, somebody start us off here tonight. Amateur radio-related questions. Don't be afraid. Small, big, large, we don't care. We'll answer anything that we can here tonight. Zoom room is filling up with people, which is nice to see. Come join us in the Zoom room. We can at least wave to you. Stations with questions. Come on, get in here.
KF0MHN. Question.
There we got you, Bill, and there was a, was that W4HCal? Okay. Got you as well, Steve, Vicky got you. Good evening, Bill. I'll take you for KF0MHN. And I didn't mention our question tonight is a little question that you might have to think about. It's a really cool question. What is, or is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate? Is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate? It might be an aftermarket antenna on your HT. It might be a hex beam, as I was talking to Roger before. He was debating whether it was his amplifier or his hex beam. Maybe a signal link so you can work FT8. So it's a question that everybody can answer, but it takes a little bit of thought. Is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate? Good evening, Bill.
Hey, Dick, good to be here. As far as that question, I went from a vertical that I was using for HF to an end-fed antenna, and that's opened up a world for me. No complaints now. The question I had was about building a radioless node, and if there's a place on the East Coast Reflector website that has the information for that.
Oh, you got me on that one on the East Coast. There used to be on an old page, but I'm not sure if it came over. But there is a lot of information. Handvoip.org, I think, was where I think we had Doug's build or something on there. David, are you there? Would you like to answer this question? Are you with us tonight?
Yeah, WB2JPQ and the Net K4FXC. I am in here, and yeah, there are some articles up on Handvoip. There are a lot. In fact, I'm talking on a radioless node right now. There are a lot out there. I probably need to refresh the list for the latest and greatest, but it's not really changed a whole lot. Other than there are a lot more commercial offerings out there now than there had been previously. So you can buy kits or buy something pre-built or totally roll it from scratch. Either way, this one that I'm talking on here right now was a forerunner to some of the ones that I guess that anyway, one of the commercial ones that's out there, but I can go with some articles. That would be a good place to start, but I heard there was another comment in there. I'll let them have a discussion about it as well. K4FXC.
Thanks, David. And Vicki said she found one, and she just put it on her Facebook page for those of you that follow us on Facebook. I think you do, Bill, so Vicki just posted it on Facebook. I think the other was Steve, W4HKL. Or was there a comment? I did not hear. Was there a comment on the subject that we're discussing?
I was going to say the same thing, and if Bill looks in his inbox, he'll find a link to that article. RTC clear.
All right, thank you, Terry. I didn't see you come in there. It's all good. So there you go, Bill. Like I say, I don't think it's on our website, but anything else we can do for you, Bill?
I was going to say the brew, but on the Teche Net, and this is KF0, I'm A10. I'll be clear.
Thank you, Bill. Good question. Made us all think. Good evening, Steve, W4HKL. Oh, wait a minute. You didn't answer our question, Bill, or did you? I don't think you did. What's one piece of equipment that changed how you operate?
Well, I went from a vertical antenna to an end-fed antenna wire in a pine tree to help with HF, and I have no complaint. HF is wide open to me now. KF0, I'm A10.
Hey, pine tree to the rescue. Many of us have used pine trees. Thank you for the question. Thank you, David. Steve, W4HKL, your question, please, and why don't you answer ours first?
Okay, Dick, to answer the question, I would say the one thing that's changed operation for me would be on HF, would be the pan adapter. When I saw the first time where you could just basically scan a band and see where the were, it just sort of changed everything for me as far as being able to quickly and efficiently kind of go through and find out where people are operating, where they weren't. Started off with an SD dongle and a switch, and then moved up to a radio with one built-in, an FT. So, with that being said, I'll pass it back to you for just a second, and then I can ask the question.
Got you down for pan adapter. Go ahead, Steve. Your question.
My question is kind of a loosely based question about using backup power for remote repeater sites. Solar, the panels, the batteries versus, natural gas or propane and a generator or some combination of both. If anybody's had any experience, what's worked the best, what didn't work. And if somebody doesn't want to go into great detail, I will stay around after the net if they would like to chat about it. So that's my question. Backup power at remote repeater sites. Back to you, Dick. W4HKL.
Steve, thanks for the question. Steve's asking what's a good backup power for repeater sites. For me, propane and a generator. Who would like to answer Steve's question? Who's got repeater site knowledge, and what do you use for backup power? Anybody wants to bite on that one? Gee whiz. One last call. Anybody want to help Steve out? What does your local club repeater site have for backup power? Let's rephrase the question and see if we can get some takers.
K5H.
K4FXC.
Kilowatt 5, Hotel Lima Hotel, K5H.
I think that was K5HLN. You're kind of really breaking up. I think that's Harry from Grants, New Mexico. And David, K4FXC. Go ahead, David. And we'll take care of you up in a minute.
Yeah, K4FXC. Well, backup power is I guess, an interesting topic in that it depends a whole lot on the scenario that you've got at your site. In all of our scenarios, fortunately enough, we have a backup generator that will kick in there. These are broadcast sites, and we'll have backup, well, except one. I'll mention that as well. We've got backup generators that kick in within, 90 seconds or so. It's faster than that typically, but they're good and stable by, we'll say, 2 minutes after starting. So all we've got to do is keep power going for 2 minutes. In that case, just a simple UPS, like you'd have on your computer, is just about enough to in fact, that's what we've got. And that does the job nicely. It keeps the systems running very well. At other sites where you don't have a generator or something, then I've gone to lithium iron phosphate batteries, which have come down in price radically and are just spectacular performers. Reset. They're spectacular performers with the one caveat that they don't like cold weather, and particularly if it's below freezing, you can't charge them, most at least. Some of the batteries will have heaters and whatnot, so that keeps them just above freezing so that you can charge them or whatnot, but they certainly lose performance as you go above freezing. I know there are a number of new technologies out there, including the sodium-ion batteries, which are supposed to have improved low-temperature performance, but they still, even at low temperatures, they lose a lot of capacity. But so it depends on where you are. I mean, what I would gravitate toward would be some type of a lithium iron phosphate battery solution, and if it was a place where it gets very cold, then I'd come up with a plan to keep it warm so that it didn't get below freezing, and then would be able to use it for. You can discharge below freezing, but you can't charge below freezing, and even in either scenario, you lose a lot of capacity as it gets colder. But there are a myriad of charge controllers out there now, and solar solutions, other kind of things. The one caveat is a lot of that gear generates RFI, and you have to deal with it one way or the other. Of course, there's also much better behaved gear that doesn't generate a lot of RFI as well, so you have to pick and choose carefully. But it's a lot of good stuff. The good news is that with all the solar systems and off-grid and the backup power systems that have proliferated over the last decade, I guess it is or so, it has really opened up the choices that we've got for really high-performance backup power systems at repeater sites. And I'll mention, while I've got the key down here, that I guess the one thing that has changed my ham radio operating experience more than anything else is All-Star and All-Star nodes. Okay, well, that's using the internet, but I'm still in most cases talking through an RF radio. I just don't happen to be sitting directly in front of it when I'm talking on it. So, it's made it so I can use my base station or whatnot or other remote radios wherever I happen to be at the moment, wandering around the countryside. So, a very, very useful feature. And like I say, I'm talking on one of those radioless nodes right now that accomplishes this very, very beautifully. K4FXC.
Thank you, David. Well said. Let me go to Harry, Grants, New Mexico, K5HLH. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening to everyone on the net. This is K5HLH. You might want to make a note on everything he said. I had a site at about 12,000 feet above sea level, and the Verizon tech didn't understand why he was filling a 2,000-pound propane tank. Couldn't understand why they just didn't use diesel. I guess they don't think diesel will freeze at certain heights, but most of our repeaters are very high on the mountain, And if, regardless whether you have a generator, batteries, we've had some glass batteries freeze at those altitudes, but propane is the king for battery backup at high elevations when it gets down below zero. Back to net, K5HLH 73.
Well, thank you, Harry. We don't have any site. Well, we have sites that freeze, but yeah, I had forgotten about that. Good point. Do you care to answer our question tonight? Is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate?
K5HLH. I would say either my Bird SWR meter or my new Mini 1300 SWR analyzer, one of the little cheaper ones that seem to do just about everything more than what the Bird does. K5HLH, back to net.
Well, thank you. Steve, was that, I'm sure that was some help to you.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank Harry and David both for such good answers, and it's definitely kind of cleared up a few things. It is remote site. It's nowhere near 12,000, but it is 3,000, so it'll be very cold up there. And, you know, over the years, the tree growth around the repeater site has gotten quite high, so we're either going to have to chop a few down or, you know, figure something out, you know, as far as how to charge batteries in the shade. But propane's probably going to have to be it. The problem is, you know, you cannot get deliveries up there. Whatever's placed up there will have to be taken up there by people with, you know, side-by-sides or serious four-wheelers or four-wheel drive and fill up whatever tanks up there or replace them and swap them out. Anyway, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Back to Net Control W4HKF.
Steve, thank you for the question. Thank you to David and to Harry. Who else has got a question for us tonight? Stations with an amateur radio related question at 32 past the hour. This is Dick, WB2JPQ.
This is KE2FTG with a question.
Well, good evening, Michael, KE2FTG. Would you care to answer our question? I'm sure you've heard it, and we'll take your question, please.
Yes, hi. Hello, Dick, and the rest of the net tonight. As a fairly new general class operator, I would say getting my HF rig up and running has been a real ear opener, so to speak. So I'm going with that, my HF radio.
All right. HF radio it is, Mike, and what is your question for us tonight? And I think you're in the Zoom room. We've got so many people in there. I think I saw you in there somewhere. Good evening.
Yeah, KE2FTG, back to you, Dick. I was in the Zoom room. I'll have to look and make sure I'm checked out of there, but I'm on Echolink right now. Yeah, my question relates to something we've been talking about. I'm running my gear in a 3-season room. It's starting to get cold. I don't expect to be out here all winter. How far can you go with getting your equipment cold before it's in danger of getting ruined? I guess that's my question. Back to you.
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's put it out to the group, and David or anybody, you got any comments on that? I have gone into places where stuff is just about freezing and slowly turned it on, but I don't know. I don't have a temperature.
K4FXD.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, well, I guess there are a couple. Cold temperature in general, I don't think is as big a concern as hot temperature, in that it depends on where you are. Both are concerns, but in different ways. There are a couple scenarios. One of which is if the radio's temperature gets significantly out of what its intended operating range was, well, you may be able to turn it on and it may come on, but it may not function correctly. For example, it may be off frequency, or the receiver or transmitter might sound strange or wrong or something like that until it warms up some. Due to gear, oscillators and other parts inside the radio that are out of temperature range and not working quite like they should. Interestingly enough, we've had repeaters that didn't want to behave very well in cold weather, and they were supposed to. They were designed for. I'm a little bit put out because they were designed for industrial temperature range, which is a very wide range, and they weren't anywhere outside those specs. But yet that gear just didn't want to behave very well. So that's one caveat. Turn the volume down on another radio there. The other caveat is, particularly with if you're transmitting, one thing you want to be careful about is if the gear is very cold and you just turn it on and immediately start transmitting, particularly like a full key down mode, full power. So it's going from a very cold scenario to suddenly the power transistors and all heating up to a very hot scenario. Well, that rapid temperature change can break solder joints. It can, over time cause things to fail in the gear. It also basically causes thermal shock. As everybody knows out there in the electronics world, thermal shock is a bad thing. And even if it doesn't kill something right away, repeatedly doing it could do it. So,
all on that tonight from P3IQU. I guess my timing couldn't have been better. I just tuned into the net about.
Yeah, I think somebody didn't realize the net was going there, K4FXC. But in general, the temperatures that we experience, I haven't had any problems operating gear. I might just turn it on and leave it on for a little bit before I used it. But I know folks that have operated at 0 and below in their ham shacks, where they turned on their amplifiers and all to warm up the room a little bit, and at the higher temperatures, as you get up, one comment as you get up very hot, meaning 100 degrees or above, then sometimes parts and radios that you don't expect to fail can fail. For example, there were some ICOM radios with 746 was one of the models way back when that had not the PA, but some components before the PA that didn't have heat sinks that got pretty warm, and they were all the time. And I won't go into all the technical details. I've got one of the 746s that had the problem, and that radio would burn up if it got too hot. But it wasn't the PA; it was it was a component before the PA that failed. And the solution was to put in the 756 model, they didn't power that part except when it was transmitting. But in the 746, they did have it powered all the time. And so that extra heat caused it, to have issues if it got really hot. There were several solutions out there, one of which was to put a little heat sink on it, and I think that's what I ended up doing. But with most radios, just go for it. If it sounds strange or doesn't work quite right, then go ahead and let it warm up some. But if it seems like it's working okay, just go for it. That's generally been my thought. K4FXC.
K7FPS, comments?
Hey, Mike, was that any help to you? make sure Mike is still with us here. We took an Echolink station off. I wonder if it was him. KE2FTG. Mike, are you still on?
Net control, this is KE2FTG. Yeah, I got bounced off the other Echolink node, and I just came in through a different one. Anyway, I really wanted to comment that I liked what I heard from the people participating. I'm not planning on staying in this three-season role. I am looking forward to Winter Field Day. My club has started to prepare for that, and there's going to be a few nice activities. Anyway, thank you all, and back to net control, KE2FTG.
Hey, Mike, we had another comment from Reno. Go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, the one thing that I wanted to offer was condensation. You know, whenever you go into the cold shack, you know, and then you start to warm things up, you're going to have a bit of condensation, you know, little water droplets that are going to form even while it's warming up. I would probably let it warm up for a bit of time. Hence David's comment about, you know, acting weird and odd. But, yeah, depending on how humid of an environment you're in, you know, whenever you turn it on, you're instantly going to get condensation on components that are warming up. Okay, 7 FPS, back to net.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Fred. Thanks, David. Guess that was what you were looking for, Mike. Good to see you, hear you tonight. And yes, I guess you were in the Zoom room and I had left. I don't have enough screen space here to see everybody. All right, who else do I have? Stations with amateur radio related questions. Your call sign twice, 43 past the hour. This is Dick, WBJPQ.
Right.
Hello, Dick. This is KR4 EMM.
Yeah, the station coming in, hold on, Fred. The station that's coming in from the Motorola repeater in Fort Lauderdale, I think it's EMM or something. Give us your call sign twice, please.
Yes, it's KR4 EMM, KR4 EMM.
Hi, Vince. Vicky had it before you. If you care to answer our question, is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate? And we'll take your question, please.
Sure, Bill. Yeah, thank you for taking my call. It's, I guess, for me, being in New Ham, transitioning from handheld, which I'm on now, to my mobile Yaesu 510. For me, that was a big change. I had more range, more wattage, 55 watts versus 35 watts on the handheld. So for me, that's one of the bigger changes I've made on UHF VHF. Back to you, Bill.
So, mobile upgrade. And what's your question for us tonight, Vince?
Hey, thank you, Bill. My question is, I'm studying for my general license, about to start studying for it, and I was looking at antenna options. I'm in a high-rise condo, 23rd floor, roughly 230 feet elevation, with a balcony of 6 by 20. I was going to carve out a small piece, 4 by 4 maybe, on the balcony, and I was kind of leaning toward a mag loop antenna. And naturally, I have height restrictions as there's a deck above me, and I have a very clear and open sight
looking south, which would be the looking east, which would be the ocean, and then looking all the way west, I can see probably to the Everglades, southern exposure. So I guess my question is, am I kind of looking in the right direction for a mag loop antenna? That's my question. Thank you. Back to you, Dick.
I'll send that over to Charles, but I think a mag might work pretty good for you. You got a nice balcony there. And, a lot of people do, too, with ham sticks. A lot of people in your situation use ham sticks, horizontal ham sticks, and they work quite well on balconies. Let's send it over to David and see what he thinks. Or, I'm sorry, to Charles.
Yeah, thank you, Dick. KC6UFM, Charles here. Yeah, Vince, you didn't mention what frequencies you're interested in. But mag loop is going to be a good option for you, I think. The problem is that, you're going to be looking, probably at most 40 to 10 meters with that, with something that'll fit in the space that you have available. But it should work very, very nicely for you. And also, as Dick mentioned, the ham sticks are always a good option. But one other option I'll throw out there for you is the, again, I don't know what radio you have, what brand, but the Yaesu ATAS 120, which is basically a screwdriver antenna, and it is automatically controlled from most Yaesu radios, most modern Yaesu radios, and you can also get a ground plane adapter with it to provide a counterpoise, and it's only about 5 or 6 feet long, and you can mount that to your balcony railing and kind of angle it outwards, and that would also perform very well for you. And the ATAS are not cheap, but it's going to be cheaper than a mag loop, and it will also give you operation on 2 meters and 440 as well. So just throw that one out there for you to do a little research and give some consideration for as well. But if you're just looking, like maybe 20 meters and higher frequencies, you could effectively do a long wire just hung over the side of the balcony with a tuner on the end of it, and you could operate that way as well. So you've got a number of options, but those are probably going to be the best ones for you. So give those a look and see what you think of those. Back over to you, Dick, KC6UFM.
K4FXC.
Hi, David.
I thought I would follow on to what Charles said. I agree 100% with exactly what he was saying. I would gravitate away from a magnetic loop if possible. That would be kind of the last choice on my list. The reason being is that they hear fairly well, but they don't talk too well. So you'll definitely be able to hear stations, but then you won't be able to talk to them, won't be able to transmit to them. And that's I guess probably the biggest concern, the biggest issue overall is that they in general don't transmit too well, unless you can certainly build very elaborate ones which do better. But again, you've got limited space. My first type of antenna I would look toward would be something like an end-fed wire, even like an end-fed half wave or whatnot, that you could some way dangle over the balcony downwards, like after dark or whatnot. You'd have to do it in a stealth mode to keep from getting too much attention. But you might be able to. I know folks that have, you have the balconies that are offset like on the same floor by about 8 or 10 feet from each other, and then you've got basically in between the balconies, you've got a straight path down. So they've kind of like stuck a little piece of pipe out, so the wire went down in between the balconies, so it wasn't quite as visible right in front of somebody's view if they happen to be looking out after dark. Well, I know a lot of folks had really, really great success with that approach and had, really pretty darn good performance for a compromised antenna. But again, that's something where you got to put it out and take it back up. So you got to stay in stealth mode or it'll get too much attention. But lots of options. The ATAS or screwdriver type antennas, those are good options as well. And a lot of folks have used them successfully. But anyway, just my thought, MagLoop would be on the lowest one on the list because I would tend to think that will give you the least satisfaction of all of them. But they do work. K4FXC.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Charles. Well, I hope that was something helped you. We just brought your building up here in the Zoom room. Looks like a beautiful building. I'd get up on the roof and put a repeater up on the top of that building. I'm not sure where the Motorola repeater is down there. All I know is where the cruise ships come in, and it's on a high-rise down there, so I don't know how close you are to that, but was that any help to you?
Yeah, definitely. You guys, big help. Thank you so much. I can't thank you guys enough. I was about to pull the trigger on a MagLoop, so thanks for the info. And I like the stealth mode. I'm pretty sure I can get away with it. But again, many thanks, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much. This is KR4 EMM. Back to you.
K4 ITA with an extra comment.
The station with the comment, please.
Yes, good evening, Dick. This is K4 ITA leaving for Lauderdale. Quick extra comment for Wings. We are both in Fort Lauderdale, by the way. I am in the same situation as Wings, and I use both. I'm using both, the M-Stick and MagLoop. And, I have a very good experience with the MagLoop. I don't know if you can still find it around. It's MFJ 1788, 1786. Very high radiation resistance, and they work very well. Smaller magnetic loop, I agree with the last gentleman who spoke. But if you can find, a bigger magnetic loop, I'm very happy with that. You can see the picture on my QRZ page. K4ITA, back to net control.
Thanks, Leo. Good to hear you. While you're there, Leo, we'll get you out of the way here, so I don't have to. Why don't you answer our question, and you won't have to check in. We'll get you as a check-in. Everybody that has checked in, whether it be a question or answered a question, we get you in on the log, and that can count as your check-in. So our question tonight is, what one piece of equipment has changed how you operate, Leo? Is there any one thing that has changed the way you operate?
Rick, K4ITA. Yes, there is a very small piece of equipment. It's called Ultra Pico Care. I do CW. I'm a bit of a rookie. I love CW, but I never had enough time to really improve my technique. So I use a pedal, and I always said, and I like iambic B, the way of doing doing squeezing stuff. The problem is that when I do A, I always do R, and with this Ultra Pico Care, it's all my problem, because I don't make mistakes anymore because of the way this gear is working. Okay, K4ITA, everybody, good night.
We'll put you down for a keyer, Leo. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thanks for jumping in there. And thank you, Vince. Let me go to Fred in Reno, K7 FPS. You had a question?
I do, and I'm going to answer your question first. It's kind of a tie for me between the Nano VNA and an All-Star node.
I much a no-brainer. Use an all-star note every day.
So my question is, running off of a 110-volt power supply feeding 13.8 volts into the radios, think a Yaesu or a mobile unit, dropping down to a lithium iron phosphate or a lead acid battery, pick one, how much does the power output drop? I know it's kind of a nebulous question, but does anyone have any feedback on that? K7FPS.
I'm not sure that I follow you. You're talking about the 13.8 DC?
That is correct. If it drops down to 12 volts, how much, again, it's kind of one of those weird questions, how much does the power output drop from the radio? Is it 20%-ish?
Well, if I understand your question, you can measure it at the radio. You always want to measure voltage at the radio, at the load side. If that's your question, you can figure that out yourself. Measure the load and also at the battery. Is that your question? I'm not sure exactly what your question is, Fred.
All right, I'll pick a number. So if you're transmitting at 50 watts on the radio, whenever the voltage drops on the input side, how much is the power output reduced transmitting?
K4FXC.
All right, David, I see Diaz Hub skiing up there. Let's see what's hitting the sound. I guess he dropped off. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, K4FXC, yeah, somebody's system there was having, maybe anyway, it's resolved. So, well, it is highly dependent. The answer is, depends on your radio, depends on your batteries, depends on, all the factors above. And I'll give you one example here. We had a field day one time. A lot of radios are not impacted, at least the most of the modern ones, are not impacted significantly by changes in the power supply voltage as long as it's within the acceptable operating range. Because as the voltage goes down, of course, that means the current, the transistor draw has to go up. But the radio will turn the drive up to the transistor so that you still get the same amount of power out. So a lot of radios, they're designed for 150 watts or 175 watts, even though it's only being run at 100 watts. I'm talking HF radios here, for example. And so they've got a little headroom, and as your input voltage drops, well, it'll turn the drive up a little bit, and you'll still have your 100 watts out. So that solves that problem. Reset. And similarly with VHF and UHF radios, a great example are a lot of the commercial radios out there where they know that there are going to be changes in voltage coming from the charging system in the car. It may go from as low as 11 or 10 or 11 volts to as high as 15 volts. So they will adjust the drive to the PA, and you'll have, whatever it's set to, you'll have roughly the same output all the time, like 120 watts or whatnot in one of the high-power PAs. But one thing I'll mention about like field day, what I've had the lithium iron phosphate batteries are very, very well behaved in that they are basically about 13. Well, if it's designed for a 12-volt battery, 13-volt battery, they're basically about 13.2 volts, plus or minus just a slight amount, plus maybe as high as 13.6 or 13.8. over their entire full charge cycle. So, I mean, as long as the battery's within the usable charge range, their output is about, in the mid-13s, 13.2, 13.5, somewhere like that. But, not dropping below about 13. Once you start dropping below 13, the battery is fully discharged. So it really narrow range. Lead-acid batteries are, of course, they have a much wider range of voltage output depending on their charge, and they will drop down into the 11-volt area, which a lot of radios have problems with. A perfect case in point here is the ICOM 7200, which we had out at Field Day one time, and using a lead-acid battery to power a nice deep cycle battery, either new one or not new, but it's in good condition, fully serviceable. And that radio, if the voltage dropped down to about 11.8 volts or whatnot, it did not like that. Its transmitter got completely garbled sounding, and on sideband at least, and it really misbehaved badly. So, it really depends on the gear. Reset. If you were planning on using, this type of gear portable a whole lot, and you've got... and you're talking about high enough power, like 100 watts or something, so that you need a beefy battery, then, you can get boost regulators for the batteries, which will take, whatever voltage input from about maybe 6 or 8 volts all the way up to 15 or 20 volts, and give you a solid 13.8 out all the time. And that's what we gravitated toward for our field day back in the era where we were using lead-acid batteries. Is basically we're running the batteries at 24 volts and then using a switching down converter made by Astron. We had several of them. They gave us a solid 13.8 volts at 20 amps output, as reliable as clockwork, and that solved our powering problems for the radios. But that's useful. That's useful in a scenario where you've got need more power and the weight's not an issue. If you're trying to go portable or something, then there are a ton of little portable radios out there that use lithium iron phosphate batteries, and they're very, very well behaved on those batteries. But hopefully I rambled on enough there. But the answer to the question depends totally on the radio. But what you can do is you can test it. If you got a variable power supply, then and a lot of them are variable these days, we'll just measure the power output on a meter and turn the voltage down to what, or within the ranges of what you expect to come from your battery and see how the radio behaves. And I certainly recommend doing that before taking it out to field day and finding out you got garbled audio, as we did, K4FXC.
Thank you, David. Fred, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about cable loss at first. My apology. Did that answer your question, Fred?
Yes, it did, and thank you for the wonderful explanation, David. K7FPS, back to net. Thank you again.
Good question, Fred. Thanks, David. Anybody else? Stations with amateur radio-related questions. 4 past the hour here. This is Dick, WB2JPQ. Call signs twice.
November 4, Oscar, Alpha Golf. November 4, Oscar, Alpha Golf. And was Mike in Coral Springs, Florida.
Mike, looks like you've been in here. This is your second time. And for OAG, good evening to you, Coral Springs. All Fort Lauderdale, South Florida people here tonight. Care to answer our question? I'm sure you've heard it. What is the one piece of equipment that changed how you operate? We'll take a question from you, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay, by the way, I'm also on the 7.9 machine for Motorola. The mobile 2-meter and 440 radios that went years ago, and I'm impressed with the number of channels you can put non-ham frequencies into, so you can scan other things besides hams.
We got that logged. Your question for us, please.
Okay, I've been a ham for 55 years, and I can remember the first call signs were W4AB for the repeater club. But what is the sequence of prefixes for the ham call signs, if anybody happens to know?
The order that the FCC has come out, I'm with you. Everything was, was the W's were the everybody was a W, and then they came out with the K's, and then the N's, and I don't know, it was like alphabet soup after that. Is that what you're asking? The order that they give out the call signs? I mean, they're up to KF4s, I believe, in Florida now. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's KF4s in the 4th call district.
That's my question. I think it was, I've heard KQ4s, but I could be wrong. I'm wondering what, for instance, the W, how far up did it go, and then the K's, how far up did they go, and I guess the N's were next?
Yeah, I put through the N's many, many years ago. The N's started, oh golly, I don't know, 85 maybe, I'm guessing, but yeah, I think they're up to KF4s now, KQ4s. Yeah, they've been around a while. But for each call district, I wouldn't have a clue. I don't know if you can find that anywhere. I don't really know. Does anybody help Mike out? Does that appear anywhere? I'm sure it's probably online somewhere where each call district is in the sequence that they're issuing calls.
Yeah, just that information is available on the FCC website somewhere. Unfortunately, right now with the government shutdown, all the FCC websites are running very slowly, if they're running at all. At least a lot of them are. And so I am not sure where it currently is, but of course, the situation is complicated in that now there are vanity call signs out there, and folks are getting call signs and in various call signs. Some of them are even 2x3s or whatnot, so longer call signs than you'd expect as vanity call signs, for specific purposes. And so it's, but you can download the entire FCC database if you're really wanting to go through pain and suffering. I do that, by the way. And I haven't, and I loaded it into another database. But you can so basically you can get all the source call signs that QRZ gets, for example, directly from the FCC, and then it makes cross-referencing stuff a heck of a lot easier. And I do that for cross-referencing a lot of things, ham radio related and other commercial related even. But it's all up on the FCC website, and I wish I could tell you where, but it's going so slowly. It's not going to happen until tomorrow at the rate it's oozing out. K4FXC.
Thank you, David. Rather than go that long, tedious route, I might just go to my AI and just ask one question.
Work for you, Mike. Come back next week and tell us how you made out. Thanks for your question. Have a nice night. Who else has got a question tonight? Stations with an amateur radio-related question.
Alpha Charlie
M680Y,
Alpha Charlie
M680Y.
1 Whiskey, Kayla in Wayland, Michigan.
Alpha Charlie 1 Whiskey, AC1W. Go ahead.
This is AC1W. First off, I had the location of the information for the last caller. It's on www.alphaecho7q.com. That's AE7Q, and you go down on the left side of the page. There's a button that says USA License Statistics. You click it, and it will list all the sequential call signs they're currently at. But the question I had was, what is everybody using to get on these HF nets? Like what antennas or what kind of antennas? Yeah, that's my question. Go ahead.
That depends on a lot of things. How much real estate do you have? Do you have enough of a yard of real estate to put an NFED or a dipole?
Well, I just meant for the local, like 10 meter or 6 meter HF nets, so it shouldn't need to be too big. But yeah, I do have a lot of space here. Go ahead.
10 meter would be the biggest. I'll send it over to you, Charlie. I guess they're just looking for 10 meter.
Okay, thank you, Dick. KC6UFM, Charles here. Yeah, Kayla, as Dick said, there's a whole lot of options. If you're looking at just 10 meters, the simplest answer is going to either build or buy just a simple quarter wave ground plane and utilize that. Or if you know somebody that maybe was or maybe even still is a 11 meter CB operator, you can convert one of those antennas over to work just fine on 10 meters, and that'll get you out into local areas. But other frequencies are going to have other optimal solutions, and depending upon how much room you have, you can go with a multi-band NFED or some kind of a trap dipole or even a vertical. But there's just a whole lot of variables there, Kayla, that you have to consider. You say local. Well, what exactly is local? Is that 25 miles, 50 miles, 200 miles, whatever? But there's just a whole lot of things to consider. But if you're just looking at 10 meters, out to, say less than 50 miles, a quarter wave ground plane is going to be hard to beat, and you can convert over a CB antenna for that. Back over to you, Dick, KC6UFM.
Thank you, Charles. Did that help you at all?
EC1W, yeah, I'm going to look into some of those CB antennas, but yeah, I've got a half-wave vertical HF antenna that can be tuned on several frequencies, but it is deaf as a post for anything nearby, like within 50 miles. It talks all over the world just fine, but I can't hear anything close by. But I guess for the answer to your question, I'll say the best thing I've had so far was the Nano VNA. Without it, it would pretty much be impossible to use the multi-band portable antennas for POTA or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, the Nano VNA, I'll send it back to you. This is ACW.
Right, another one. I think we had another one for the Nano VNA. Thank you for your question. 15 past the second hour. We'll take one more question. And before I'll turn it over to Roger. And who would that be?
N6QDY.
Yeah, good evening, David. Go ahead.
Good evening, Dick, Ricky, and everybody else. N6QDY. So to answer your question, I think it's this clear node. Before that, I wasn't even on the ham bands much at all. And the clear node allowed me to meet the ECR, and everybody else. So it's been great.
Got you down for clear note. I guess I was just going to categorize them as all-star, but Vicky's got clear note. Go ahead with your question, David.
Okay, Dick, the question that I have is for cooling fans on a heat sink. How is it best to mount a cooling fan on a heat sink? Across the fins, directly onto the fins, where it blows onto the heat sink, that kind of stuff. That's my question. The best way to mount a cooling fan on a heat sink.
We beat that to death over the years, and back in the early days, I mount them I blow right into the heat sink. Some people, some of the MSF 5000s, I think it is, they have 3 fans that blow up through the heat sink, and I think the main reason for that is they didn't have enough room in the cabinets to put it behind. GE, they had them 2 different ways. Some of the earlier GEs were blowing straight up, but I don't know if there's a right and a wrong way, but we can put it out to the group or whoever wants to answer to see. But me, I just blow direct, like on if you're talking like a Motorola Max Track or something for a link radio, I just put them right on the heat sink, rather than a small fan right about the size of the heat sink, and I just blow right into the fins. And I've had them running that way for 20 plus years, and I've never burned up a PA, believe it or not, on a link radio. Of course, we're not running at any kind of a high power, between 5 and 10 watts, so they'll limp along all day. Let's put out the group and see what everybody says. Anybody comment?
Before I fix you.
David?
Yeah, what I found is that it's dependent on the type of heat sink and the type of fan, and how much cooling you're needing to do. Most of my RFPAs, I have the fan hanging off the heat sink. I'm using muffin fans, and in general, and then I have them hanging off the heat sink about maybe 3 inches or something like that, far enough so that the air spreads out a little bit, and also decreases the amount of turbulence with the air coming out of the fan. So that means I can run the fan slower and move the same volume of air, or have much effective cooling as if the fan was mounted right on the heat sink and the velocity of the fan was turned up higher. So, but it's highly dependent, and the main thing is just to keep the temperature in the range where you want it. I found that I buy like the pan flow or whatnot muffin fans, and I usually run a 12-volt fan. I usually run it at about 8 volts or 8 or 9 volts. Rarely do I find that I need to run it all the way up to 12 to accomplish much more actual cooling on the system than the 8 volts will get me, or 8 or 9 volts, something in that ballpark. So the big thing is to measure the temperature of the heat sink and don't let it get too hot. And I have that. I have active monitoring on the repeaters, that I'm running, so that I don't have them. Heat sinks get hot enough so it's going to cause damage or whatnot. Now a lot of modern gear it'll shut down or reduce power if things start getting over temperature, but older gear will not, and and it will just sit there and it'll cook itself to death. So you got to kind of pay attention to it. But The main thing is get a fan that's got good quality bearings. Ball bearings are ideal, and then it ought to give you a long lifespan. But yeah, I've had some strange PA failures that were unexpected on some systems. Even like Kenwood, the 750s and 850s. But what was weird is what failed was not the actual PA transistor; it was the driver, and it was due to a thermal stress due to the way the driver was mounted in the repeater, on the chassis of the repeater. But that's another story. That's kind of like eye-opening. Anyhow, hopefully that helped a little bit. K4FXC.
VNM.
I heard somebody else in there. Go ahead with your call, thanks.
November 2, Victor, November, Mike, Dick. It's David in Peru.
I recognize your voice. Go ahead, David.
Had excellent luck with 24-volt fans, and I run them on 12 volts, and I've been doing that on my 50-amp system, and it doesn't even get hot, and you're not taxing the fans. They're quiet, so that's where I've had my luck. N2 VNM back to control.
Absolutely, got it running in a house or a shack or something. You want them as quiet as possible. David, I know you got Max Tracks and GM 300s there. I just want to make a point. The Max Track, they sense time. You could have them in a freezer and they're still going to shut down. You can have all the fans on you want, but they sense time. Where the GM 300s and some of the 200 series in that, they sense heat. Those are the ones that you put a fan on all of them, but by putting a fan on those, on the for instance the GM 300s, which senses heat, you can keep them cool, and they will still run. Let's say if you've got the power set for 20 watts, they'll run at 20 watts. Where a Max Track, they'll sense time, and there's nothing that you can do other than do a mod on the Max Tracks. There is a power mod that we did years back, but you have to do that mod in order to keep them running at whatever they're set at due to time. Thank you, David. You've got some Max Tracks and around there. I just wanted to warn you if you're building a link radio or something.
K4FXC, another comment.
N2 VNM back to control.
Thanks, David. And David, appreciate that. Good info. N6QDY back to net.
K4FXC.
Go ahead, David.
I was going to mention something about building link radios and even repeater PAs and things like that. Is sometimes turning the power down further is not accomplishing what you think. A lot of repeaters, a lot of PAs and gear, particularly older stuff, they have a sweet spot in power level where it gives you the most output power with the least amount of heat generated, and consequently the least amount of power drawn from the power supply. And a Max Track is a perfect example of that. For example. So if you take like a 40-watt Max Track, you think, well, I could turn that down to 5 watts and it'll sit there and it'll last forever. Well, no. Actually, the sweet spot on most Max Tracks is about 20 or 22 watts. And, you don't want to turn it down below that, because it actually, the amount of heat generated is higher than in the low 20s. So make sure sometimes it's counterintuitive, so make sure to actually take some measurements. Look at output power, the current drawn from the radio, and the temperature of the heat sink, and figure out where the sweet spots are for the best performance. And lots of times it's not turned down all the way. Turned down all the way may actually be hotter than having it turned up, somewhere in the middle power range. K4FXC.
For sure. And again, best thing to do with the Max Tracks, do the power mod. It's online. It's a simple mod. Put a potentiometer in. I think you lift a I think you lift a chip resistor or something. I haven't done one in so many years, but you know, it's a mod that takes about 10 minutes, and mount the pod, and you got from 0 to whatever you want right there. That helped. I guess you said okay, David. So thank you. Well, everybody, that'll do it for me tonight. 9:26 here. We had some good questions, thanks to David and Charles. And like I said, if anybody wants to do an open like Charles did tonight, let me know if you're versed on D-Star or whatever. You want to do a 10-minute presentation at the top of our nets like we did here tonight. We welcome it. We'd like to do that every week. As you can see, we've kind of changed the net format here. We got right into the questions and so forth. Oh, wait a minute. I got to do the new users yet, don't I? Pardon me. I guess I forgot all about what we were doing here. We got to take new users to this net. We moved you guys down to after the stations with questions. We wanted to get the questions up first. So do we have any new users that are with us tonight that have never checked into this net before? If you've never checked into this net before, give us your call sign twice, and we'll get you in here, let you answer our question, and you can be on your way.
N3 LLY. KN4 NVU. Name here's Paul. Over.
The N3, looks like you were coming in through W4END. The N3, call sign twice, please.
LY, N3, Lima Yankee.
LOY, you've been in here once before. You're coming up red on the log. I'm sorry. We'll have to ask you to call in with the Roger's portion of the net. There was another one coming. There was another N3, I believe, coming from W4END in Alabama.
KN4 NVU. KN4 NVU. Any copy?
Gotcha. That wasn't the station I was looking for. Was there an N3 coming from W4END in Alabama? We'll go to you, Paul. I think I saw you in the Zoom room, didn't I? Yeah. Hi, Paul. Welcome. And for NVU.
Gentlemen, can I get a radio check, K679?
You're welcome.
Question? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I see. I'll stand by for you, Dick. KN4 NVU, back to you, Dick.
So I turn it over to you, Paul. Welcome, and what's the one piece of equipment that changed? Ready?
I'm also on the Zoom, so I'll hold it up. The most important piece of equipment in my ham shack is my key, is like the other gentleman, but my flame-proof key that I got when I was in 7th grade that Mr. Pryor, now silent key for 50 years, gave me as a 7th grader. So that's the most important piece of equipment in my shack is my Navy flame-proof key. Over.
ZUA in Texas. Write it down. Take him offline. Thanks, Paul. Got you down to the CW key. Yeah, I still got my first key from the late 50s out there. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the system. What else do I have that's new to this system? A lot to move along here tonight. It's already 9:30. What else do we have that's new to the East Coast Reflector? I'm sorry, that's new to this net, not to the reflector, but new to this net.
KR4FXY, KR4FXY. New to this net, Sean from Brandon, Florida.
Good evening, Sean. Yes, you are. You are new, and I see that you do not have a current email address on your QR page, so we encourage you to do that so the system can send you a welcome letter. So a little homework assignment for everybody. We talk about that every single week. We had 89 new users last week, for instance, and 33 of them had email addresses. So it's terrible. You've got to put an email address on your QRZ page so people can get a hold of you, especially the node owners. We got a couple of nodes that we've constantly been taking off over the past few weeks. We have no way to get a hold of these node owners other than we'll leave them blocked, and when they call us because they can't get on the East Coast Reflector, email us, then we will have it. But it's so important to an email address on your QRZ.com page. But why don't you answer our question and welcome.
As far as your question, I am brand new to ham radio. I literally just got my technician's class license a month ago. I have a handheld that I talk on, and tonight is my first experience with EchoLink. I downloaded EchoLink to kind of keep up with the storm, so there is a lot that I don't know yet. My assumption when I joined EchoLink was that my email that I registered with the FCC kind of followed my call sign, because it made me put my call sign in to register and be verified and all that. So please excuse my ignorance for signing up and not putting my email in another spot.
You're not alone. You're not alone. No, it does not follow. That's something new that the FCC just started. You never put an email address in years past. But nope, you got to do it on your QRZ.com page. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying as a reminder to everybody. Go ahead and answer our question, if you would, please.
Sure. As I said, I'm brand new, so I don't even have a mobile radio yet. I'm using a handheld, and the most, I would say the answer to the question would be the mobile antenna that I have hooked to my truck. I've got that wired into my truck and connected to my little HT, and that's what I use. That's my first radio. This is all I have right now. I don't have a base unit. I don't have a proper mobile unit. I'm just using a little HT and a fairly decent Midland antenna, and that's changed everything. The last time I did anything with amateur radio was in the 70s with CB radio, and I've monitored CB radio. It's absolutely horrible. So I'm glad to be part of the ham community, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot more.
I think we answered an earlier question. Where are we in the line search? You're a KR4. I thought we were up to KQ4s or past KQ4s, but we're up, or KF4s, I guess, but we're on KR4s. So whoever asked that question, we're already up to KRs in the fourth call district. So, well, it's a great hobby. You well know. Glad you came back, and you'll have a lot of fun. Little reminder, you're on EchoLink, but we have a morning brew from 7 to 9 every day. That's our big draw. We get 145, 150 check-ins every morning in a 2-hour time frame. So come join us. Learn how to use our text line, 716-317-9050. You merely text your sign in, and that goes into a sheet, and when your time comes up, Vicki puts you over onto the log. You can follow along on the log. Go to eastcoastreflector.com, like I mentioned at the top of the net, and go into nets, and there's a little box you can check for follow along on the log. It's the easiest way, and you can see your call sign and so forth as we put them on, as we take check-in. So welcome, and hope to see you again next week. We're here every Tuesday night. We've been here for over 12 years, so hopefully another 12. I'll take one more. Who else do we have? It's getting late here. Take one more news station. If you're new to this net, please give me your call sign twice. This is Dick, WB2JPQ.
For DWA.
ECR Kilo 9 Papa Bravo Romeo.
K9 Terry, K9 PBR, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I had a good friend that I talked to for, many, many years. I'll never forget, he lives up on Snow Heights Boulevard in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We talked in the 70s and 80s every single day. K9BPR. Good evening to you, and care to answer our question, then welcome.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't hear the question. I'm actually just was sitting here listening, and you said something about one more call, so I stuck my call in there, and if you have a question, could you repeat it, please?
Ken, Terry, nice to have you with us. Yes, our question tonight for everyone is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate?
Well, I used to be big into HF. I am no longer in the HF. I'm just on DMR, All-Star, HTs, stuff like that, and I have a clear node. But back when I was on HF, I believe it would have been the Flex radio that I purchased. That was a phenomenal radio, sounded great, had great filtering, and great audio. So yes, that would have been the one that changed how I operated. I was really into the software-based radios, the SDRs. Loved them. I don't have the room for an HF antenna here, so I'm stuck to an HT and the internet. But I miss that radio. That was a great radio.
They are great radios. I'm just the opposite, Terry. I like the knob switches and relays. I like to hear the chatter of the TR relay between the transmitter and the receiver. Now, I don't quite go back that far, but I'm just the opposite. Thanks for being here, Terry, and thanks for coming in tonight. Well, that'll do it for me. I'm going to send it over to Roger, KO4QM. He's going to take, like I said earlier, he's going to take 10 radio check-ins, and then he's going to take 10 text check-ins. So if you're not on the text list, 716-317-9050, and we'll go down the list from there and work through the end of the evening. Over to you, Roger, and I'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 7 for the Open on the Brew. KO4QMM, all yours. This is WB2JPQ. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Dick. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Teche Net. Had to have a little fun there in Halloween spirit. This is KO4QMM. Roger, I'll be your net controller for the rest of the evening, I imagine, unless things get real hectic or something. And our question of the night is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate? And we'll be taking general check-ins. Anybody, anywhere, come twice and slow if you can.
Kilo 2, Charlie Mike Tango. Kilo 2, Charlie Mike Tango.
This is November 8, Mike Juliet November. November 8, Mike Juliet November in mobile.
KB3 VPK. KB3 VPK.
Quebec 4, Foxtrot Hotel Echo. Kilo Quebec 4, Foxtrot Hotel Echo.
Charlie Whiskey India, KD6 CWI. Ruben in Fallbrook, North County, San Diego. Good evening.
W2KJV, W2KJV.
2 Echo Charlie.
Kilo Delta 6, Charlie, Whiskey, India, KD6CWI. Good evening. Ruben in Fallbrook, North County, San Diego.
Alrighty, nice little list there. We got ZS2EC Tom, Port Elizabeth, W2KJV Tony, Homosassa, Florida, KD6CWI Reuben, California, KQ4FHE Pat, Alabama, KB3VPK Mary, PA, N8MJN Mobile, Marson, Michigan, K2MT, my buddy Mike, neighbor in DeBerry, Florida. Up to you, Mike. Is there one piece of equipment that has changed how you operate?
Thank you, Dick. Appreciate that. This is Mike in DeBerry, Florida, K2CMT. And Roger, the number one piece of equipment that makes my life better in ham radio is my Raspberry Pi All-Star node, which has got a link radio attached to it, and it's also got my radioless node I'm speaking to you on. And they make life a whole lot easier. And thank you for being here, Roger. Always good to hear you. This is Kilo 2, Charlie Mike Tango, back to net control.
Well, I try to go where the fun is, Mike, and thanks for joining us. And you're right, my all-star node is the best thing for UHF, VHF for me, and for HF, it has to be my 600-watt amp. I became general, and like after 2 months, I think I had an amplifier so I could keep on DXing. And they heard me after that with my vertical antenna. So let's move on to Mobile, Marson, Sterling Heights, Michigan, N8MJN. Good evening, Marson.
Good evening, Roger, and everybody on the TechNet tonight. This is N8MJN in the Mobile. I've been thinking pretty hard about this for the last 4 minutes that I've been in the truck. I have to say it's my ICOM 705 radio that can go anywhere, do anything, and allowed me to really stretch my wings. Only been licensed 3 years, so and just got my general, I don't know, 6-7 months ago now. So got me in the HF, and it's a love-hate relationship with this hobby. My wallet hates it, and I love it. So that said, I'll send it back to net control. N8MJN. Everybody have a great evening. 73.
You're right, Marson. That is a good radio. I was looking at those, and man, I think I'd hooking that up to my electric bicycle. And let me thank Vicki for keeping me in control here in the logging. K8VKY. Thanks, Vicki. And let's move on to Mary, Easton, PA. KB3VPK. Good evening, Mary. And is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate?
Good evening, everybody. For sure, it is the onboard Wi-Fi in my Bronco. My Ford Bronco Sport has onboard Wi-Fi, and I have a Sherry attached to my Raspberry Pi node for mobile. Just lives in the car. It boots up, grabs an IP on the onboard Wi-Fi, and connect to my repeater. All-star node with DTMF and That's what makes my life easier. My repeater doesn't have a good footprint, so the onboard Wi-Fi in the Bronco Sport. Back to you, KB3 BPK.
That is pretty cool, Mary. I bet anybody who rides with you thinks you're pretty high tech, which you seem to be. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to Pat in Alabama, KQ4FAG. Good evening, Pat.
Good evening, Roger, and everybody on the Tech Net. This is KQ4FAG. I got a 3-element 2-meter Yagi beam from a friend, and I used it in replacement for a J-pole antenna, and it was much more effective. 7-3 to everybody. Back to you, Roger.
Sounds good, Pat. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to Ruben, Fallbrook, California, KD6CWI. Good evening, Ruben.
KD6CWI, Ruben in Fallbrook, North County, San Diego. Good evening to you, Net Control. Thank you for doing the net. Good evening to you, Dick, and to everyone listening. Happy to be here and participate on the ECR Net. One of the most difficult stuff that I encountered just recently is the computer linking to digital, which is on WSJTX, on FTH, and then some WinLink operations, and some other digital platforms like AllStar, DroidStar, Echolink, all of this stuff. So there's some issues that comes up, and then it takes a while for you to really troubleshoot it, and then I'm lucky to have some people that are helping me out in regards with these digital platforms from any of the digital platforms in Facebook or the IO group or some hands, here in the air. So computers would be one of the main stuff that will be on top of my list in the way I operate. You got to know what you're doing. You got to check everything before you start running. And that's about it. Stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy life, and God bless everyone. 73 KD6CWI.
Thanks, Ruben. You have a good evening. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to Tony, Homosassa, Florida, W2KJV. Good evening, Tony. And is there one piece of equipment that has changed how you operate? Ham radio, of course.
Good evening, Roger, and everyone on the net tonight. Tony here in Homosassa, W2KJV. Yes, I have to go with my All-Star note. It definitely changed the way I operated. In fact, it got me back into ham radio. I was out of ham for about 15 years. Before that, though, it was the antenna analyzers. But right now, it's All-Star node. Well, back to you, Roger. Hope everyone has a great day. W2KJV.
Thank you, Tony, for joining us, and thank you for what you do for the ECR. This is KO4QMM, and you are listening to the East Coast Reflector. Check out eastcoastreflector.com. You'll see what we're all about. And if you would like to text in, it's 716-317-9050. 716-317-9050. All right, let's move on to Tom, Port Elizabeth, ZS2EC. Good evening, Tom.
Good morning, Roger. Good morning to everybody. Tom here, local Tom here, 350. I bought a small square box because I've got a disability, and also The whole headset helps me a lot when I operate DX and operate contest. But the square box I bought, I plug in my whole headset, I plug in my microphone, also for digital modes, and it's much easier for me to switch between different types of things I do on HF. That helps me a lot. And also the whole headset helps me a lot because I do have a disability on my right-hand side, cannot use my hand. It helps me a lot to operate and to do the things I need to do very fast. Back to you, Roger. ZSCDC.
Thank you, my friend. Always enjoy to hear from you on Tuesday nights. You have a great day. That's it for that list. Let's do the text list. Let's start from the bottom here, let you know who's there. WA2UUS, Joel, New York. KR4EMM, Vince, Florida. N4MYI, Alabama, Jeremy. KD3ATQ, Jim, PA. KA8BYU, Roy, Blaisdell, New York. KC6UFM, Charles, Cathay, California. KK4SED, Les, Claremont, Florida. W2AJR, Andy, Cheektowaga, New York. N4CRV, Lee, Simpsonville, South Carolina. 82JPP, Bob, Gatlin, Tennessee. It's up to you, Bob. Is there one piece of equipment that has changed how you operate? Ham radio.
Hey, Roger, good evening. Hello, Vicky, and everybody else on the net. As far as tonight's question, I mean, my equipment's remained the same, but what changed my radio world is when I got that All-Star node set up and running. It really changed everything about the ham radio world for me. So anyway, I hope everybody stays safe, has a great week, and back to net control.
You are correct. It was so clear when I first heard that. And, yeah, don't look back. I got to have one of them all the time now. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to Lee, Simpsonville, South Carolina, N4CRV. Good evening, Lee. It's almost like I could hear your lips moving, but I didn't hear it. Try one more time, Lee. Well, he must have had a pizza delivery or something. Thanks for joining us, Lee. You can come back around later if you want. Let's go to Andy in Cheektowaga, New York. W2AJR. Good evening, Andy. You there?
I am indeed here, Roger. Good evening to you and everybody on the net. As Dick would call it, my fish finder. The pan adapter makes a huge difference for me. 7-3, everybody. Have a great week. Back to you.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I have two fish finders. I got two VFOs, so I tell you what, it's fun to watch two different antennas at work, too. Thanks for joining us. You have a wonderful evening. Let's move on to Les, Claremont, Florida, KK4SED. Good evening, Les, and is there one piece of equipment that has changed how you operate?
Node. You know, when you live in a community where you're restricted to get up your antennas, it puts a hammer on things. So, yeah. All-Star Node, KK4SED, back to net.
Agreed, my friend. You have a wonderful evening. Let's move on to my buddy Charles Teche, California, KC6UFM. Good evening, Charles.
Yeah, good evening, Roger. Thanks to Vicki for running the log tonight, and you and Dick for herding the cats this evening. Yeah, I did not answer the question earlier because I had to sit and think about it for a while. And what I finally came up with, Roger, is pick a name: pan adapter, waterfall, fish finder, what have you. I would have to say that of all the things I've seen come and go in ham radio, that has been the one that has really changed the way I operate, because my ears aren't what they used to be, Roger, and I have learned over the years to watch that waterfall, and I can tell the difference between several of the digital modes as they're rolling down the waterfall, and I can tell the difference between sideband AM and FM. I have not yet learned to be able to tell the difference visually between upper and lower sideband, but I know some people who can, so I think it can be done. But that has changed the way I operate totally, and I kind of like all the blinky lights and the little peaky points on the chart and everything like that. But on the other hand, though, I'm kind of like Dick, Roger. I like radios that glow in the dark and have lots of knobs and switches and all that on them, and that in the wintertime you don't have to turn the heat on, you just use the radio. So I'll pass it back over to you, Roger. 7-3 to everyone. Have a great week, and catch everyone back here next Tuesday. This is KC6 UFM, back to net control.
Words of wisdom, my friend. I tell you what, you put them all three together. You got the fish finder, the amplifier, and the hex beam. And oh my goodness, I tell you what, and having two different fish finders, that's pretty neat too. Two different antennas. I can tell you if it's somebody from Europe or if it's North America between my antennas and how big the signal is. Be like, oh, that's got to be Europe. It's at the bottom of. All right, thanks for joining us. Enough of that. Let's move on to Roy, Blaisdell, New York. KBYU, good evening, Roy. This is KO4QMM, Roger in Central Florida. Did we miss you, Roy? KA8, BYU. I think he closed shop for the evening. Let's move on to Jim, Easton, PA, KD3ATQ. How about it, Jim? Is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate ham radio?
Good evening, Roger, Dick, Vicki, and the rest of the Teche Net. Yes, my clear node has definitely changed the way I operate. Back to net control, KD3ATQ.
Thanks for joining us, Jim. You have a wonderful evening, and we got Jeremy, Parrish, Alabama, N4MYI. Good evening, Jeremy. No, N4MYI. You there, Jeremy? No, No worries. Have a good evening. Thanks for checking in this evening. Let's move on to Vince, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, KR4EMM. Good evening, Vince. Now, I know you were there earlier. You there, Vince? KR4EMM. All right, let's move on to Joel, Buffalo, New York, WA2UUS. You there for me, Joel?
Yes, I am, Roger. It's good to talk to you and to everyone out there. I hope you're all doing well. As the question tonight, I believe when I came back into ham radio, being guided to the IRLP and learning about all that technology opened up a whole new world for me. As far as the equipment goes, I also got back into HF, and I was limited by 15-meter dipole I had up in my attic for years, and but I decided I wanted to branch out, and I got an MFJ 1622 multi-band antenna, which is indoors actually, and I've been able to contact the whole world, it seems, on 15 and 20 meters specifically. And I know they're out of business these days, regrettably. But I wish everyone have a nice week ahead. Be well and be safe. Thank you, Vicki and Roger. Thank you.
I tell you, it's a ball talking to people all over the world. People and ham radio seems to be an English-speaking hobby, which is really awesome. People really manage it all around the world. Wish I could speak more in languages. That's it for the text. That means this is KO4QMM, and you are listening to the Tuesday Night Tech Net. And we're going to take general check-ins. That means mobile, in and out. And if you want to join in, come with your call sign twice and slow.
06 November Alpha
LLY
Bill Bravo India Lima Lima Monterey Park, California. That's Kilo Echo 6 November Alpha.
I was looking at the log and I see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us. I'll be the middle one, KQ4K. That's been checked in through text, I believe a little while ago.
The Kilo 3 Alpha Whiskey Alpha VK3 AWA.
Echo 6 November Alpha.
Kilo 7 November Yankee Charlie. Kilo 7 November Yankee Charlie, in and out.
With Kilo Yankee Foxtrot Tango Golf DE2 FTG with a question for the net when we get to it.
Charlie Golf, RBIO, thank you.
In and out, W4 PPX, in and out.
Whiskey 2 Echo Mike W2EM.
November 3 Tango Juliet Kilo and 3 TJK Tim, in and out.
All right, Let me get a hold of it here. We got N3 TJK Timothy, Maryland, in and out. Thank you for joining us. We got Don, Hollywood, Florida, W4PPX, in and out. Thanks for joining us. We got Mitchell, Selden, New York, KE2CCG, in and out. Thanks for joining us. And we got KK7NYC, in and out. Doug, Fairview, Oregon. Thanks for joining us. We got KE2FTG, Michael, Cornwall, New York. He's staying with us. VK3AWA, Daryl, Australia. W2EM, Chuck, New York. KE6NAA, William, Monterey, California. And Chris, you'll just have to hang in there, man. Vicky puts them up on the log, as I call them, and there should be no problem with anybody getting in here because they got via email, via text, and via general checking. So shouldn't be a problem. Let's go up to the top. William, Monterey Park, California, KE6NAA. William, is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate ham radio? Over.
Good evening, Roger in the net. KE6NAA, actually, it's Bill, Bravo, India, Lima, so, hi. Yeah, it's a long story short. 30 years ago, picked up my call sign, couldn't do a damn thing with it. Oops, I shouldn't say that on the air, sorry. I couldn't do a darn thing with it. And fast forward 30, I'm now semi-retired and decided to go pick up amateur radio once again. And lo and behold, I mean, the amount of digital explosion that occurred between back then and now is just ridiculous. But I have to say, the one thing that did change was that I'm on the M1KE, the transceiver from Shark RF. I'm mobile now in Los Angeles, California, and just decided to check in on the net. So that pretty much changed everything. I mean, on top of all the other HF gear and everything that's, software related for HF. That's where I'm at. So having fun getting back on the air and on HF, and also picked up a new ICOM 7300 and 7100 for POTA. Back to you, Roger, and thank you. KE6NAA.
Well, thank you, Bill, and Vicky got you down there as Bill now, so that'll be for now on. And thanks for joining us, and you sound fantastic all the way from California there. Thanks for joining us. We'll hopefully see you on some of the other nets. Let's move on to my buddy Chuck, W2EM, New York. Good morning, or good evening, Chuck.
Over the years, I know there's been a lot of things. Like was said, the waterfall, it's been a big boost. But probably if I have to pick one thing, it'd probably be my clear node. It's changed the way I operate a lot. It makes it a lot easier, and I can go almost anywhere with it. And when I travel places, I can just take it with me, and it's there. But another big thing that really worked out was my hex beam. I got a really nice hex beam, and it works fantastic. So I'll turn it back to you, Roger. Hope you get out fishing there or riding your bike. So, 73, W2EM.
Thanks, Chuck. And, man, I knew you were going to get the hex beam in there one way or another. You always sound so good on that thing. I don't think you need but 100 watts QRP. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to my buddy Daryl in Australia. VK3AWA. Good evening, Daryl.
Good evening, Roger, and those listening and watching. I really have to say the All-Star node. I'll go along with probably the majority, I'm thinking. There are other things that are quite useful, but I thought about it for a while, and everything else shut down, I would miss the All-Star node the most. So that's it from me. Thanks, everybody, for running the net. 7-3. Back to you, Roger.
Thank Thank you, Daryl, and it's good to see you in the Zoom room. Hope you have a good day there. Let's move on to Michael, Cornwall, New York. KEG. Michael, is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate ham radio?
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad to be here. This is sort of a recheck. I was in with Dick earlier, and I mentioned the piece of equipment was my HF rig when I became a general. Switching over to those bands has made a big difference. So that's my answer to your question. Back to Net.
No worries, no harm done, my friend. You have a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us. All right, that's it for the general check-ins. This is KO4QMM, Roger, your net controller in Central Florida. And let's go on. We got the bottom up here real quick. KEOGKF, Jeff, Nebraska. N3LLY, Glenn, Maryland. K6AAN, Mike, California. WOSVH, Sean, Texas. W9EBB, Don, Ocala, Florida. KQ4UPK, Chris, Hollywood, Florida. AC4BR, Brian, Monticello, Kentucky. And K4ITA, Leo, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's up to you, Leo. Is there one piece of equipment that has changed how you operate ham radio? Over. You there, Leo? K4ITA. Alrighty then, let's move on to Brian, Monticello, Kentucky. AC4BR. Good evening, Brian.
Hello, Roger and Vicki and everybody on the net. Well, I'm going to, I guess, give it to the, as much as it may be derided by some, the little Baofeng UV5R that kind of got the whole thing with ham started for me. So I didn't even know ham radio was a thing until a friend of mine got me into it, and I don't think he really got anywhere with it, but I've slowly been expanding out farther and trying to get into the HF world now. If I can ever get my place set up, I'm kind of having to do it strategically since it's an apartment. But anyway, that's what I will go with. I'll turn it back over to you, Roger. Hope everybody has a good evening. And this is AC4BR.
Don't feel bad about that at all, Brian. That's the first thing I started out with, and just to play with a friend on the trails while we were four-wheeling, and it all escalated from there. So, yeah, don't feel bad for those UV5Rs. A start for a lot of people. Thanks for joining us, and have a wonderful evening. Let's move on to Chris, Hollywood, Florida, KQ4UPK. How about it, Chris? Is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate ham radio?
Well, I was definitely going to go with the UV5R, so the gentleman in front of me must be a mind reader. Definitely the HT, the Baofeng, for sure, and the All-Star Node, no doubt about it. Thank you. KQ4UBK, back to net control.
Thank you, Chris, and tonight. Have a good evening. And it's moved on to Don, Ocala, Florida, W9EBB. Good evening, Don, and I'm sure you're enjoying this cool weather. Oh, no, my neighbor Don left me hanging. W9EBB. You there, Don? Oh, sheesh. All right, let's move on to Sean. Anderson, Texas. WOSVH. Good evening, Sean.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome to everybody on the net. It's a blustery, windy night here in Texas, but go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Well, good evening, Sean. Is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate ham radio? Over.
I would have to say that just being able to do digital and analog both a Raspberry Pi based system will probably change radio for everyone. Be it a hotspot or be it an analog node. I think that's done a lot for the whole radio community as a whole. And back to you, Henry, for WGO.
Thanks a lot, sir, for getting in there tonight. You sound a little bit scratchy. You might be a little far away from the antenna, but we got your answer, my friend. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to Mike, Valley Springs, California, K6AAN. You there, Mike?
Yes, I am, Roger. Good evening, and hello to everybody on the net. Easy question tonight, man. It's by far the clear node has made a big difference for me. I have two of them now, and yeah, they go on trips and the whole works, so use that thing every day. Back to you, sir. This is K6AAN.
They are really neat, especially when people take a mobile and stuff. It really sounds good. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to Glen Burnie, Maryland. N3LLY. Good evening, Glenn. And is there one piece of equipment that's changed how you operate ham radio?
Hello, Roger and the group. Well, I guess a lot of people agree with this. Every piece of gear that I bring in here changes the way I operate. But I think the neatest next thing is this little Raspberry Pi that I'm using now. It's caused me to operate not different, but different in it's a hard to explain way. I really look forward to getting into this and learning about all these nodes and myself an all-star link going on here. So, Roger, that's it. That's my story. I'm going to stick to it. N3LLY.
Well, it's a good story. I don't see why you wouldn't stick with it. Thanks for joining us, Glenn. And speaking of smooth operator, here's one of our net controllers, Jeff, Bellevue, Nebraska, KEOGKF. Good evening, Jeff.
Hey, Roger. Hey, Vicky, what the heck are we doing here? It took you forever to get me on the log. What are we doing here? Sheesh. I'm kidding you, Vic. You know I am. Roger, I've been on ECR for 10 years. Been a ham operator for 10 years. And the first 8 years, it was IRLP node. And the last couple of years, the clear node, which I'm talking on now, and moved to All-Star. So I'm going to have to say the node. You know, so, Roger, why don't we all just kick back and have fun with nodes?
Thanks again, Jeff, for joining us. Always a pleasure, and great evening. I'm sure we'll hear you soon. Morning Brew. This is KO4QMM. We're down to the bottom of the list here. K3MBC. Mark, Pasadena, Texas. Good evening, Mark. And is there one piece of equipment that's changed how you operate ham radio?
Well, good evening, Roger. Yes, I have to say that, first off, I've been a ham since only March, and had a HT for a while, and it took me a while to finally get a HF radio, so I'd probably say it was my ICOM 7300, and it was pretty interesting. First time I had this thing powered up, I ended up making a contact with someone in Serbia within about the first 15 minutes of having it on, so that's probably the most important device I have right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Wouldn't be much without a radio, that's for sure. And appreciate you joining us. All right, we're going to start taking in more general check-ins. We're at the bottom of the list. Now it's a free-for-all. Anybody, anywhere, but do try to come twice and slow.
KD2VNU.
And 1YKT. And 1YKT.
Whiskey Alpha 3, Jessica Bravo, Portable Papa 4, Aruba.
Kilo Bravo 3, Juliet Romeo Bravo, KB3, JRB.
All right, let me check one here. There was a WA3. Could you come back with your call sign?
Yes, this is a Whiskey Alpha 3, Yankee Ocean Bravo, Portable Papa 4, Aruba, in the Caribbean, and the name is Sylvia. Over.
Vicky pulled you out there. We got you. WA3YOB, Silvio, Harleysville, PA. We got KB3JRB, Stewart, New Hope, PA. N1YKT, Johnny Hoskinville, Kentucky. KD2VNU, Derby Dan, Derby, New York. And KO4FRR, Joe, Sorrento, Florida, via text. Good evening, Joe, and is there one piece of equipment that has changed how you operate ham radio? Good evening.
Well, good evening, Roger. This is Joe, KO4FRR. I had to switch my HT because that one died, so I had to flip over. But all good. I think any new anything into the shack is something good. But probably my latest thing that I like is allows me to troubleshoot is the M1KE. That should do it. I'll talk to you guys later because I've been working behind the scenes. Have a good one.
Yes, and thank you for all you do for the ECR, Joe. It's very nice of you, and Joe's the one that set my node up here in my spare bedroom, and I haven't had to touch that thing since, and that's what you're listening to me on right now via my Kenwood radio. So it works out pretty good. Thanks for joining us, Joe. Let's move on to one of our facilitators, Derby Dan, Derby, New York, KD2VNU. Good evening, Derby Dan.
Good evening, Roger. Good evening to everybody on the net this evening. Hope all is well. I would have to say my Ham-Pipe All-Star node seems to be the thing that changed a lot for me. It gave me more versatility. So with that, I'll return it back to you, and have a good evening. 82B and you.
And yes, sir, Dan, you've sounded good for years, that's for sure. Thanks for joining us this evening. Let's move on to Johnny, N1YKT from Kentucky. Good evening, Johnny.
evening, everyone. I have to say the MDVM repeater I have is just so versatile. And on YKT, good evening.
Thanks for joining us, John, and always good to see you there in the Zoom room. Hope you have a wonderful evening. And, you also sound good on 20 meters. Good to get you on 20 meter Thursday at 10 a.m. 14.317 for those that wanted to know. And let's move on to Silvio, Harleysville, PA, WA3YOB. Good evening, Silvio.
Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. This is W3YOB Sylvia. I'm actually in Aruba, one of the islands on the Caribbean, and on my vacation. So I'll be the Echolink application, which I'm using right now. I can talk everywhere with that. But as equipment, it will probably be one of those digital SWR watt meter, which I use on mobile on my HF with ICOM 706 MK3, whatever that thing it is. It's pretty handy. That one, say hello again to everybody. Over.
Yeah, boy, ain't that the truth. The SWR meter. Yep, that definitely helps out. And I see you're new to the East Coast Reflector. I ain't going to bother you now because you're in Aruba, and that would be just wrong. So if your email's good, we'll send you an email, welcome you, and hope to see you again on one of our other nets. Thanks, Silvio. Have a great time there. Let's move on to Stuart, New Hope, PA, KB3JRB. Good evening, Stuart.
Good evening, Roger, and everyone else on the net. I have to say, the All-Star node, which I'm using right now, at the other end of my apartment building, using my Alinco radio. KB3JRB, back to net.
We got you node for the list, Stuart. Thanks for joining us, and that's the end of that list. You're listening to the East Coast Reflector, Tuesday Night Tech Net. Check out eastcoastreflector.com. You'll see what we're all about. Right now, we're asking a question. Is there one piece of equipment that changed how you operate ham radio? All are welcome to join. Come with your call sign, twice and slow.
Alpha Foxtrot 6, Papa Foxtrot, Alpha Foxtrot 6, Papa Foxtrot.
WA2CDT, WA2CDT.
Last call to come in and answer the question of the evening. Last call. Come with your call sign.
Alpha Foxtrot 6, Papa Foxtrot.
KO4CLD, KO4CLD.
9Y4DX, 9 Yankee 4 Delta X-ray, Bertrand.
Well, look who just got here under the wire. Good evening, Bertrand. It started 9 with an N. That's something I always do. 9 to Y4DX. Good to hear from you, Bertrand. We'll get to you in a second. Micah, just under the wire, KO4SCLD. Tuscumbia, Alabama, WA2CDT, David, Morton, New York, and AF6PS, Leo, Downey, California. All right, Leo, it's up to you. Is there one piece of equipment that's changed how you operate ham radio?
Good evening, Roger. Good evening, everyone. This Alpha Foxtrot 6, Papa Foxtrot Leo. The piece of equipment that I operate the radio, I got a lot. I got the DB switch, the All-Star Link, the MDVM, so we say good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Alpha Foxtrot 6, Papa Foxtrot 773. Back to you, Net Control.
Thank you, Leo. Understood. Fine. Thanks for joining us. We got your answer down. Let's move on to David, Morton, New York, WA2CDT. Good evening, David.
Good evening, everybody on the net. I'd say the one piece of equipment that has impacted me the most is the introduction of the PC. Using that for FT8 and all the associated software. This WA2CDT, that's the net control.
Gotta say, there's something there for everybody. That's what makes it such a great hobby. Thanks for joining us. Let's move on to my buddy Mike at Tuscumbia, Alabama. Good evening, Mike at KO4CLD.
Yeah, KO4CLD here. I would have to say it's my all-star node, like many others. Being able to check in to nets around the globe just by a couple of digits is pretty amazing. KO4CLD. Back to you, Roger.
And I've seen your shack before. You got a lot of cool stuff in there, so I know you do a lot of everything there if you want. Let's move on to my buddy Bertrand, Trinidad, Tobago, 9Y4DX. Good evening, my buddy.
Well, pleasant evening to you, Net Control. This is 9Y4DX. Yes, name is Bertrand, and my location, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, let me say a pleasant evening to all the stations. This evening, let you know that Trinidad and Tobago at this time is quiet. But the rest of the Caribbean is experiencing some storms. We are in the south. We have missed storm. It's past. It was past here. After it got into the Caribbean Sea, it ended up now as a hurricane which struck Jamaica today. And just off the coast, the northwestern coast of Jamaica, and it's heading directly to Cuba at this time. I think the wind will be just about 150 miles per hour at this time. But the temperature here in Trinidad and Tobago is just around 80 degrees at this time. We're going down to 77. Well, with respect to the test at hand, I remember when I just started, I got the handheld, a Linko radio that I walked around with, and that was such a change that I could have been actively on the radio while working and doing other things. So that's it for me. Back to you, Net Control. This is 9Y4DX.
WBKY, for doing some outstanding logging tonight. And Dick, WB2JPQ, for just kind of handling everything and keeping everything safe and sound. And myself, your net controller for part of the evening, Roger, KO4QMM in Central Florida. We're going to get this. Oh, let me go ahead and remind everybody there's another net tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, open net night. Check that out. And Thursday morning, the 20-meter net, 10 a.m., 14.317. And Friday, the youth net. So there's always something around, something good. Let's get this frequency back to normal use. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this evening. 7-3.